The helicopter blades whipped dust across the clearing as it descended, adding another layer of grime to Malik's sweat-streaked face. He squinted at the new arrivals, mercenaries from South Africa, their tactical gear pristine and out of place in the Congo heat. That made 87. The remaining hunters would arrive before nightfall, and tomorrow, the hunt would begin. 100 men to kill one gorilla, Malik muttered, adjusting his ranger's cap. Madness. Not just any gorilla, said a voice behind him. Baku. Malik turned to find Juma, the Maasai tracker whose reputation preceded him. Lean and tall with ritual scars etched across his cheekbones, he carried only a spear, a knife, and a small pack. You know him? Malik asked. I've tracked him twice. Failed twice. Juma's eyes narrowed at the memory. He's not an animal. He's a spirit with fur and fangs. Across the camp, a stocky man with military cropped hair tested the weight of a custom rifle. Kojo, ex-mercenary, whose hands had reportedly killed more men than malaria in his village. His eyes met Malik's, a cold acknowledgement between predators. The radio crackled. Another helicopter was landing, this one carrying the final participants, including Obesai, whose million followers had watched him hunt game across Africa. His camera crew hovered as he stepped onto Congo soil, his smile practiced for the lens. The mountain with eyes won't be ready for this. Obesai proclaimed, patting his rifle. First man to spot him gets 50,000 extra views. Malik exchanged glances with Juma. He'll be the first to die, the Maasai said quietly. That evening, as the jungle breathed around them, the expedition commander, a government official with a starched uniform and city hands, addressed the assembled hunters. Gentlemen, your mission is simple. Baku has killed 17 people this year alone. He's disrupting security operations, interfering with resource extraction, and creating a climate of fear. Bring back his head, and the $5 million bounty is yours to share. A murmur rippled through the crowd. For some, it was about the money. For others, like Kojo, Malik suspected it was about the challenge. For Malik himself, it was simpler: if Baku had to die, better it be done right. Later, as the hunters settled into their tents, Malik found himself standing at the edge of camp, staring into the darkness of the Congo basin. The jungle was a wall of sound: insects, night birds, distant howls. Somewhere in that green labyrinth, Baku was watching. Malik was certain of it. You're not here to kill him, are you? Juma appeared beside him, silent as a ghost. Malik considered lying, then thought better of it. I'm here to make sure it's done properly. No suffering. Noble, Juma said, but Baku doesn't care about nobility. He survived because he understands us better than we understand him. A twig snapped in the darkness beyond the camp's perimeter. Both men tensed. Just the wind, Kojo's voice came from behind them. He'd approached without either man noticing. Or maybe not. Maybe he's already watching us. Malik felt a chill that had nothing to do with the night air. Tomorrow, we become the hunted. We always were, Juma replied. Some of us just didn't know it yet. As if in answer, a distant, thunderous roar rolled across the forest, deep, primal, and unmistakable. The camp fell silent. In that moment, all 100 men knew what they had signed up for. This wasn't a hunt. It was a war. And Baku had just declared it. Dawn broke with mist clinging to the canopy like reluctant ghosts. The hunters divided into 10 squads, each taking a different quadrant of the search area. Malik found himself with Juma, Kojo, and 7 others including, to his dismay, Obesai and his cameraman. Stay 5 meters apart, maintain visual contact, Kojo instructed, taking point with the natural authority of a man who'd led soldiers. And for God's sake, stay quiet. Obesai whispered dramatically into his camera as they moved. Day 1 of the Baku hunt. The jungle holds its breath. As should you, Juma hissed. Unless you wish to be the first trophy. They pushed deeper into the forest, where sunlight fractured through leaves in broken shards. The humidity was oppressive, clothes sticking to skin within minutes. Malik watched the canopy, noting disturbed branches, broken twigs, signs that most would miss. Baku was no ordinary gorilla. He didn't move with his knuckles to the ground like others. Locals claimed he walked upright, a shadow among shadows. By midday, 3 other squads had radioed in false alarms. Tension built with each passing hour, nerves fraying in the incessant heat. As they paused to check a potential track, the radio crackled. Squad 7 to all units. We've found something. 20 minutes later, they converged on the site, a poacher's camp, or what remained of it. 3 tents shredded, supplies scattered, and blood, dried to rusty brown, splashed across the clearing. No bodies. He dragged them away, one hunter muttered. Impossible, another countered. A gorilla doesn't. Baku does, Juma cut in, examining broken branches that told a story. He came from downwind. Waited. Attacked when they slept. Kojo knelt beside a splash of blood. This isn't random rage. This was. He hesitated, calculated. As night approached, the squads established defensive perimeters, setting up motion sensors and infrared cameras. Obeisai broadcast his excitement to his followers, promising them the money shot when they encountered Baku. Malik couldn't sleep. Neither could Juma, who sat cross-legged, staring into the darkness. You've seen him up close, Malik said quietly. What makes him different? Juma's eyes reflected the dim firelight. His eyes. Most animals look at you and see prey or threat. Baku, he sees you. Sees your weakness. Your fear. A scream split the night, followed by gunfire, distant, from the direction of Squad 4's position. Their radio channel erupted with shouts, then went silent. By morning, Squad 4 had lost 3 men. The survivors described a shadow that moved like liquid through their camp, snatching a man before anyone could react, then returning for another while they fired blindly into the trees. He's hunting us, Kojo said grimly as they regrouped. Squad 4 made the mistake of setting up where the trees hang low. Perfect attack position. A helicopter evacuated the dead and wounded. 95 remained. As they pressed deeper into Baku's territory, the jungle changed. The paths seemed deliberate, as if designed to funnel them. Malik noticed strange markings on trees, not claw marks, but something else. Warnings? That night, it rained. The motion sensors failed, compromised by water. In the darkness, a massive shape moved through Squad 9's camp. By dawn, their screams had faded, and 5 more hunters were gone. He's not just surviving, Juma whispered as they followed a trail of destruction. He's eliminating us systematically. Obeisai's camera whirred, recording the fear that now gripped them all. This is insane, he muttered. It's like he knows our tactics. 87 remained. And as they ventured deeper into the heart of the Congo basin, Malik couldn't shake the feeling that they were being led exactly where Baku wanted them. By the 3rd day, it had become a grim mathematics. 74 hunters remained. Baku had taken 13 lives, and fear had claimed another 13 who evacuated, admitting defeat. The jungle had become a labyrinth, each shadow a potential death sentence. Squad 2 found themselves in a ravine when boulders mysteriously dislodged from above, crushing 3 men instantly. Squad 6 lost 2 to spike pits concealed beneath forest debris, traps that seemed eerily human in design. He's learning from us, Kojo said as they examined one such pit. From poachers, from every threat he's faced. Malik's squad, now merged with remnants of Squad 8, camped on a ridge that offered visibility. Obeisai's cameraman had been evacuated with a broken leg, but the influencer himself remained, his broadcasts growing increasingly frantic as his followers multiplied. The hunt was now international news. "This is no longer about one beast," Malik overheard the commander saying into his satellite phone. "It's about proving humans remain the apex predator." That night, as rain battered their tents, Juma silently beckoned Malik to follow him into the trees. There, concealed in the darkness, Juma pointed to strange markings carved into the bark. "What am I looking at?" Malik whispered. "Gorilla sign," Juma replied. "But not natural. These are deliberate. See how they form patterns?" Malik squinted. "Almost like maps?" "Or warnings," Juma said. "Baku isn't just a gorilla. The locals believe he's what happens when an animal lives long enough to understand its enemy." A branch snapped nearby. Both men froze. "We're being watched," Juma breathed. Malik slowly turned, scanning the darkness. Nothing moved, yet the sensation of eyes upon them remained palpable. Back at camp, Kojo had assembled the remaining squad leaders. "We need to change tactics," he declared. "Small teams, mobile, no fixed positions. We hunt like he hunts." The next day, they split into 15 teams of 5, creating a net to surround Baku's suspected location. Malik's team included Juma, Kojo, Obesai, and a South African ex-soldier named Don. By midday, 3 teams had gone silent. "He's picking us off," Don muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. "This is suicide." "Keep moving," Kojo ordered. "Staying still makes us targets." They pushed through dense undergrowth, following what Juma believed was Baku's trail. The jungle grew thicker, darker, the trees towering like ancient sentinels indifferent to human struggles. Suddenly, Juma froze, raising a hand. Ahead, a clearing opened up, unnatural in its perfect circularity. At its center stood a massive termite mound, taller than a man. "This isn't right," Juma whispered. "This clearing." His words were cut short by a thunderous crash as something massive burst through the trees behind them. Not from the clearing, from their entry point. They'd been herded. Baku stood fully upright, his silver back glistening with rain, muscles rippling beneath his fur. 8 feet of primal fury, eyes burning with an intelligence that froze Malik's blood. Obesai panicked, raising his rifle. Kojo shouted a warning, but too late, the shot cracked through the jungle. Baku moved with impossible speed. One moment he stood at the edge of the clearing, the next, his massive hand closed around Obesai's torso. The influencer's scream was cut short as he was hurled against a tree with bone-shattering force. Then, rather than pressing the attack, Baku melted back into the jungle. "He's playing with us," Don gasped, trembling. Kojo knelt beside Obesai's broken body. "No," he said grimly. "He's teaching us." As dusk fell, reports filtered in. 59 hunters remained. The commander, his starched uniform now mud-stained and torn, called for reinforcements. None came. The government, facing international pressure over the hunt's mounting death toll, had distanced itself from the operation. "We're on our own," Malik realized. And somewhere in the darkening jungle, Baku watched, waited, and planned his next lesson. Dawn of the 5th day broke with mist clinging to the trees like funeral shrouds. 41 hunters remained, their faces haggard, eyes haunted by what they'd witnessed. Some had survived by luck, others by skill. All by Baku's choice, Malik suspected. "We should withdraw," Juma suggested during the morning briefing. "This is his domain. We've lost." "Withdraw?" The commander's laugh was brittle. "After 59 men have died? Impossible. We finish this." Kojo, who had emerged as the de facto field leader, studied the crude map they'd assembled. "He's hurting us," he said, pointing to the pattern of attacks. "Toward the north face of the ridge." "Why would he do that?" Don asked. Because that's where he wants us, Malik replied. The revelation had come to him during the night. He's not just surviving, he's orchestrating this entire hunt. The remaining hunters consolidated into 3 teams. Malik found himself with Juma, Kojo, and 5 others, tasked with approaching from the eastern flank while the other teams created a pincer movement. As they moved through the jungle, Malik noticed the signs changing. More territorial markings, more deliberate. They were entering Baku's inner sanctum. He's close, Juma whispered. Very close. A crackle of the radio, then a scream. Team 2 had made contact, and it wasn't going well. Gunfire echoed through the forest, then silence. Team 2, report, Kojo barked into the radio. Nothing but static replied. They moved faster, pushing through dense vegetation until they reached a shallow stream. As they crossed, Don suddenly lurched forward, his leg caught in something beneath the water. He screamed as serrated vines, or were they ropes, tightened around his ankle, dragging him downstream. Hold on. Malik lunged, grabbing Don's arm. The South African's face contorted in pain as whatever had him pulled harder. Juma's knife flashed, severing the trap. Don collapsed, his ankle a mangled mess. What the hell was that? One of the hunters gasped. Juma examined the cut vine. Man-made. Poacher's trap, repurposed. Baku used a human trap against us? Kojo's voice held disbelief. He learns, Malik said quietly. Every encounter with humans, he adapts. They fashioned a makeshift stretcher for Don, but it slowed their progress considerably. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, they reached the base of the ridge, and found carnage. Team 3 lay scattered across the clearing, their bodies broken and discarded like unwanted toys. No bullet wounds, just the devastating impact of inhuman strength. My God, Kojo breathed. There's no sign of Team 2. The radio crackled to life. Commander to all teams. We've spotted him. North Ridge Summit. Moving to engage. Malik looked up at the darkening sky. It's too late. He's drawn them in. We have to help them, one of the hunters insisted. No, Juma said firmly. That's what he wants. To separate us. To divide. Night fell as they debated. Gunfire erupted from the ridge, sustained, desperate bursts followed by screams. The radio went silent. 28 hunters remained. In the flickering light of their small concealed fire, Kojo cleaned his rifle with mechanical precision. Tomorrow, we end this, he said. No more squads. No more tactics. Just the 4 of us who understand him. And how do we do that? Asked Malik. By accepting we're not the predators here, Juma replied. We're the prey. And the prey's only advantage is desperation. As they settled into an uneasy rest, Malik found himself unable to sleep. The jungle around them had fallen unnaturally silent, as if holding its breath. A soft rustling nearby made him stiffen. Slowly, he turned his head. 2 yellow eyes gleamed in the darkness. Watching. Assessing. Malik didn't move, didn't breathe. For what felt like eternity, man and beast regarded each other across the thin veil of firelight. Then, as silently as he had appeared, Baku was gone. He could have killed me, Malik whispered to Juma when the tracker awoke. He chose not to. Because you're not like the others, Juma replied. You respect the jungle. He sees that. Or, Kojo interjected, having overheard, he's saving us for last. Dawn approached, and with it, the final confrontation. Somewhere on the ridge above, Baku awaited the last of the hunters who had dared to challenge the mountain with eyes. The 6th day dawned with a blood-red sun struggling through misty canopy. 23 hunters remained, gathered at the base of the North Ridge, a mix of the desperate, the terrified, and the few who still believed they could prevail. One final push, the commander announced, his voice betraying the hollowness of his confidence. We corner him at the summit. Malik exchanged glances with Juma and Kojo. They had discussed their plan in whispers before dawn, a different approach, one that acknowledged Baku's intelligence rather than denying it. We'll take the western approach, Kojo told the commander. More cover, less exposed. The commander nodded absently, his eyes fixed on the ridge where his glory or his grave awaited. They separated from the main group, Malik, Juma, and Kojo moving through the dense vegetation with silent precision. Dawn had been evacuated during the night, one of the few to leave the jungle alive. He'll expect us to come from below, Juma said as they circled wide around the ridge. We must approach as he wouldn't anticipate. And then? Malik asked. Kojo checked his rifle but didn't raise it. We talked to him. Talk? Malik couldn't hide his surprise. Baku understands more than we've admitted, Juma explained. He's been sending messages this entire week. Not just killing, communicating. They ascended the ridge from the south, taking a longer but less obvious route. The sounds of the main hunting party, 20 men moving with all the subtlety of a wounded buffalo, echoed from the opposite slope. Near the summit, they found a narrow cave entrance, hidden behind a curtain of vines. Fresh markings surrounded it, territorial warnings. His sanctuary, Juma whispered. Or his trap, Kojo countered. Malik studied the markings, remembering similar ones from villages near his ranger station. These aren't just warnings, he realized. They're boundaries. He's not claiming the entire jungle, just this space. The radio crackled with frantic voices. The main party had engaged Baku on the eastern slope. Gunfire, then screams. The pattern now familiar, almost ritualistic. He's still there, Kojo said. Which means we can access the cave. They entered the darkness, Malik leading with a small flashlight. The passage narrowed, then opened into a chamber that stole their breath. It was a graveyard of sorts, but not of Baku's victims. Displayed in a macabre museum were the tools of those who had tried to kill him, snapped rifle barrels, broken machetes, poachers' snares. And drawings, crude but unmistakable, scratched into the rock walls. Stick figures of men. Traps. The ridge itself. He's been planning this, Malik whispered. For years. A thunderous roar shook dust from the cave ceiling. Baku had finished with the main hunting party. We need to go back, Kojo said urgently. Now. They emerged to find the sun setting, casting long shadows across the ridge. Blood trails led away from the summit, but no voices called out. No radio chatter. Silence had claimed the mountain. How many left? Juma wondered aloud. Does it matter? Malik replied. This was never about numbers. They reached a rocky outcrop that offered a view of the valley below. The evacuation choppers hovered near the base camp, collecting the wounded. From this distance, they looked like insects fleeing a flood. He's behind us, Kojo said softly, not turning. Malik felt it too, the weight of that gaze. Slowly, they turned to face him. Baku stood 20 yards away, his massive frame silhouetted against the dying sun. Blood, not his own, matted his silver fur. His chest heaved not with exertion but with controlled rage. No one moved. No one breathed. Then, deliberately, Kojo set down his rifle. Juma placed his spear on the ground. Malik unholstered his sidearm and let it fall. For long moments, the tableau held, 3 men and a monster, or perhaps 4 beings equally removed from the categories humanity had constructed. Baku took a step forward. Then another. His movement was not the knuckle-walking of ordinary gorillas but an upright stride, powerful and deliberate. He stopped 5 yards away, close enough that Malik could see the intelligence burning in those amber eyes, could smell the musk of his fur. The gorilla's gaze moved from man to man, assessing, remembering. Then, with deliberate slowness, he reached out one massive hand. In it was a crushed radio, the commander's, judging by the insignia still visible on its broken case. Baku dropped it at their feet. A message, clear, unambiguous. "He's letting us go," Juma whispered. "No," Malik understood suddenly. "He's letting one of us go. To tell the story." Baku's eyes fixed on Malik, not with hatred, but with something more complex. Recognition, perhaps. Understanding between predators who had chosen, at crucial moments, not to kill. Kojo tensed. "What's happening?" "The end," Juma replied. "And a beginning." With shocking speed, Baku lunged forward, not toward Malik, but toward Kojo and Juma. Before either could react, massive hands closed around them, lifting them as easily as a child might lift dolls. Malik didn't move. Couldn't move. Terror and understanding froze him in place. Baku held the two men, one in each hand, their feet dangling above the rocky ground. His eyes never left Malik's. A choice. A message. A test. Malik's hand twitched toward where his gun had fallen. Baku's grip tightened, drawing gasps from Juma and Kojo. "No," Malik said aloud, raising his empty hands. "No more death." For what felt like eternity, gorilla and man regarded each other. Then, with gentleness that belied his strength, Baku set Kojo and Juma down. The three men stood unmoving as Baku backed away, still watching. At the edge of the clearing, he paused, then deliberately turned his back, the ultimate statement from a being who had spent his life never showing vulnerability to humans. As Baku disappeared into the gathering darkness, Kojo sank to his knees. "Why?" he gasped. "Why let us live?" "Because dead men tell no tales," Juma said, his voice hushed with awe. "But we will." They descended the ridge in silence as night claimed the jungle. At the extraction point, a single helicopter waited, the last. Of the 100 men who had entered Baku's domain, only 7 would leave it alive. As the chopper lifted off, Malik looked back at the darkening ridge. For an instant, he thought he saw a silhouette watching from the trees, massive, upright, timeless. "What will you tell them?" Juma asked as the jungle receded beneath them. Malik considered the question. The government would want explanations. The media would demand sensational stories. The world would ask how one creature had defeated 100 men. "The truth," Malik said finally. "That we were never the hunters. And the jungle belongs to those who understand it." Weeks later, as the inquiry concluded and headlines faded, Malik submitted his resignation from the ranger service. The night before his departure, he visited the small shrine the locals had built on the edge of the reserve, offerings of fruit and honey laid before a crude statue of a sitting gorilla. "They've named you a god now," Malik said to the darkness. "But you're something more dangerous. You're the future." No answer came from the jungle beyond the shrine, but Malik didn't expect one. Their conversation had ended on that ridge, a silent agreement between adversaries who had glimpsed something in each other worth preserving. As he turned to leave, a distant roar rolled across the forest, deep, primal, and somehow victorious. Not a challenge this time, but a reminder: man may claim the world, but there will always be places where he is merely a visitor, tolerated only by the true masters of the wild.